welcome to NTD China News. I'm Karen Chang. Making headlines this Wednesday, February 20th. What does this 2011 CCTV documentary say about Chinese military hacking? US congressional aides get free luxury trips to China, and 2 more Tibetans have died in self-immolation protests. After US-based cybersecurity company Mandiant released its report yesterday about Chinese military cyber attacks, the Chinese regime was very quick to deny the allegations. That hasn't stopped a barrage of media reports about the issue, but the suspicions aren't new at all. In fact, NTD reported about Chinese military hacking back in 2011 after a documentary by Sichuan CCTV talked about that exact topic.
Following a scathing report about the Chinese military's involvement in internet hacking, China's defense ministry quickly denied the accusations. State-run CCTV delivered this message from the military on Wednesday, February 20th, saying, quote, "The Chinese army has never supported any hacking activity." It appears the CCTV forgot this documentary it showed back in July 2011. It's about the Chinese regime's military technologies, specifically how cyber attacks are used in military operations. The military expert talks about hard and soft tactics, like sending Trojan horses to infect systems and using logic bombs to cripple a computer system. The footage then shows a custom-built software made by the Electrical Engineering University of the CCP's People's Liberation Army. The software has a list of US-based websites about Falun Gong, a spiritual practice the Chinese regime has persecuted since 1999. The operator selects minghui.org. It's one of Falun Gong's main websites hosted in the US. The operator then clicks on Attack before the screen cuts away to another shot. On Tuesday, the US said it has long been concerned about cyber attacks from the Chinese military.
We have repeatedly raised our concerns at the highest levels about cyber theft with senior Chinese officials, including in the military, and we will continue to do so. This is a very important challenge. It is one the President has been working on and urging Congress to take action on for quite some time, and he'll continue to do that.
U.S. cybersecurity company Mandiant issued a report on Tuesday identifying a secretive unit of the People's Liberation Army in Shanghai as behind the sustained hacking attacks on U.S. and other foreign entities.
Following Mandiant's report on Tuesday, US computer and iPhone maker Apple revealed it was targeted in a sophisticated cyber attack. Here's more.
Computer giant Apple was under attack from hackers on Tuesday. In the first major attack the California-based tech company has ever elaborated on, it said that a flaw in Oracle Corp's Java web browser software was exploited to install malicious software on some Apple employees' computers. Apple said the malware was used against, quote, other companies, likely referring to Facebook, which was targeted on Friday in the same fashion. One person close to the case tells Reuters that the people responsible could be from China, but that there's no hard proof to back up the claim. They said, quote, "This is a new campaign. It's not like the other ones you read about where everyone can tell it's China." The way the malware was spread was through a site used by iPhone developers. Visitors could contract the malware if they didn't have the Java web browser plugin disabled, according to the source. Microsoft Windows computers are also at risk. Over the weekend, U.S. cybersecurity from Mandiant said it uncovered evidence that the Chinese military has been launching cyber attacks on U.S.-based companies. The White House has also brought the attacks to Beijing's attention.
So we've talked a lot in the security industry in recent years about China being behind cyber espionage attacks. But the evidence we provide makes it pretty clear that this isn't some rogue group of hackers. They're not off on their own. They are part of PLA Unit 61398, that they're sponsored by the military, and that the Communist Party of China is not only aware of their activities, but actually supports their activities.
Security technology company CrowdStrike's CTO Dmitry Alperovich agrees.
But what China is doing is really focusing on the economic espionage, stealing intellectual property, stealing trade secrets, negotiation strategy, that they're then passing off to their companies to leverage in competition globally with U.S. companies and other Western companies. And that is what's fundamentally different.
The Wall Street Journal and the New York Times have had their computers targeted by Chinese hackers this year, and Twitter was also targeted in a similar way as Apple.
Some see it as a dangerous conflict of interest. Despite congressional laws limiting it, foreign governments around the world are giving Capitol Hill staffers luxury all-expense-paid trips to their countries. And China is doing a whole lot more of it than any other country. And it's all because of a legal loophole. Here's the story.
It's a loophole that allows U.S. officials to go on extravagant trips to China, all expenses paid by the Chinese regime. Although Congress has imposed bans on most types of free travel for members, there is an exception. If it's for cultural exchanges, it's fine. And that's allowed foreign lobbyists to offer some pretty outlandish travel gifts. According to the Washington Post, last summer, about a dozen congressional aides toured China, the bill footed by the Chinese government. Highlights of the trip include business class flights, luxury hotels, walking along the Great Wall, seeing priceless cultural artifacts in Shanghai, and touring Chinese military vessels.
The Chinese government plans to build a good relationship with them and exert some influence. Another reason is the CCP wants to find those who share the CCP's appetite or are easy to develop further relations with during the visit. The CCP will have further and closer contact with these officials at a convenient time.
Washington Post says that between 2006 and 2011, China provided an incredible 226 all-expense-paid trips to U.S. congressional staff. That's almost double the second biggest spender, Taiwan. The Post reported that in 2011 alone, the U.S. Capitol Hill staffers went on 803 free trips around the world. But the number could actually be higher. Only senior congressional staff members and lawmakers are required to divulge foreign-sponsored travel.
The greater the CCP's economic strength, the greater the force of its corrosion. The CCP exports corruption all over the world.
Although most of those traveling are junior staffers, many are concerned that foreign governments could be buying influence. If not with top lawmakers, then at least with the next generation in Capitol Hill.
A day after a UN body said it would ask the Chinese regime to look into the abuse of children's rights in Tibet, 2 Tibetan teenagers have become the latest self-immolation protest victims. Free Tibet reported today that 17-year-old Rinchen and 18-year-old Sonam Daji lit themselves on fire on Tuesday night to protest communist suppression of Tibetans. The protest happened in Sichuan province. Since 2009, more than 100 Tibetans have self-immolated to protest Chinese rule. And coming up after the break, Hong Kong businesses scammed in China are asking legislators for help. It's not just bad air. Chinese people face another danger, polluted water. And many don't realize China's spiritual past, but Shen Yun is bringing it back as it continues its 2013 world tour. And welcome back. Despite the attraction of doing business in China, foreign investors often fall victim to the pitfalls of the local business environment. On Tuesday, family members of Hong Kong investors who lost money because of shoddy practices by Chinese entities asked their legislators to help them get their money back.
China's economic boom has drawn business investment from around the world, but that's not because Chinese businesses have high integrity. A group of Hong Kong business representatives are asking the region's legislators to help them seek justice. They're part of some 2,000 Hong Kong businesses that have been scammed or cheated in mainland China. Some of their cases are several years old, but they've had no luck in getting back their investment.
The main issue is that the Hong Kong government said it will help. The 18th Party Congress in China also just passed. They all promised to pay attention to the case, but so far we haven't had any proper compensation.
Huang Manyi has been appealing for her father's case since 2010. Huang Mingqing took out a $3.2 million loan from a bank in Xiamen, but the money was transferred to another company. The bank then repossessed his factory after accusing him of defaulting on loan payments he never had. Huang and several others like him went to Beijing to appeal last September. He is still there right now. Following Tuesday's meeting with Hong Kong legislators, the representatives tell NTD that some of them plan to return to Beijing next month to raise awareness of their cases during the Chinese regime's upcoming political meetings.
There are not many topics that Chinese citizens can rally around, but cleaning your plate is something that even the government can't argue with. After Chinese citizens took up the call to cut down on food waste, China's leaders are also joining in.
Growing up, many kids were told to clean their plates after every meal. Well, that saying has taken hold of China recently and grabbed the attention of citizens, restaurants, and even Chinese leaders. State-run China Daily reported in January last year that food waste accounts for about 70% of the country's garbage. And with no effective national composting system, that food is shipped to the landfill with the rest of the trash. The Clean Your Plate campaign has erupted in the Chinese blogosphere, with over 500,000 microblogs discussing the topic. Many are calling for better dining out practices and increased public awareness of the issue. On January 25th, famous Chinese philanthropist Chen Guangbao took his staff to a restaurant in Nanjing to eat other people's leftovers. While the meal was more for publicity than a practical solution, it did show the nation's fervor to clean its tables. According to China Daily, several restaurants in Beijing have started handing out coupons to members of the Clean Plate Club. It says 750 restaurants have also started serving smaller dishes. Still others are advocating doggy bags, something that cuts down on food waste but not container waste. The origins of Chinese food waste may have its roots in Chinese culture, some say. The desire to appear wealthy and to impress one's guests has led to opulent banquets where leftovers abound. Bloggers were quick to point out the government's corruption has resulted in luxurious banquets on taxpayers' dime. Last year alone, China Youth Daily reports that government officials spent over $48 billion on state banquets. Xi Jinping has joined the call to cut down on food waste, and the government's backing may be having an effect. China's Ministry of Commerce said in a press conference today that the sale of luxury food items has dropped between 40% and 70%. CCTV also said catering companies in cities like Beijing and Shanghai have seen a decrease in turnover between 20% and 35%.
Air pollution in China has been getting a lot of attention recently, but that's not the only thing left behind by the country's unchecked economic development. Water is vital for human survival, but in China, finding clean drinking water isn't as easy as many would like.
It's easy money for any official who dares to take the challenge. An entrepreneur in Zhejiang province wants the environmental chief to take a dip in a river that has been heavily polluted by industrial waste. If the chief stays in for 20 minutes, Jin Zhengming says he'll pay him 200,000 yuan. That's around $32,000 US. It follows growing fury on the Chinese internet over the country's worsening water pollution. Clean water is harder and harder to come by thanks to decades of unchecked industrial development.
If officials don't look after the environment, they may have to answer questions. But if they don't push ahead with economic growth, it'll impact the amount of money the local government makes. So the environment has been sacrificed, while the economy and the government's revenue grows.
In eastern Shandong province, environmental activist Deng Fei said on his Weibo microblog account that factories in Weifang City have been pumping wastewater underground. Weifang officials responded by offering tips to anyone with information about this. But on Saturday, Deng claimed that authorities had detained up to 40 people, including reporters, over the pollution claims.
The local government is trying to protect its economic interests and will use its position to suppress these types of supervisory activities from the community. They're stopping different opinions from being aired.
State-run China Daily reported on Sunday that up to 40% of rivers in China are seriously polluted. 20% is so toxic that it's unsafe to come in contact with the water. And it's not just rivers. 1/3 of China's water comes from underground sources. State-run Xinhua reports that of underground water tested in 118 cities, only 3% is actually clean.
New York-based Shen Yun Performing Arts is continuing its 2013 world tour. And in Nashville, Tennessee, it showed audiences a side of China that many didn't realize existed.
On February 17th, Shen Yun Performing Arts completed their final show in Nashville, Tennessee. Audience were not only awed by the technique of the dancers and the beauty of the show, but they also expressed gratitude to Shen Yun for teaching them about the inner meanings embedded in Chinese culture.
I loved it. Bring us more. Bring more to the Western world and give us more of your spiritual message. Because you're reaching people through the performing arts that won't be reached through the printed word.
Your civilization is so old. We in the Western world do not realize how old the Chinese civilization is. And we do not yet appreciate what values and that you have provided to humanity. We're only discovering that.
Even though spirituality in Chinese culture is ancient, many thought that the divine connection had been lost to communism.
It really surprised me because I've always thought that the Chinese people didn't believe.
Atheists, right?
Yeah, that the Chinese were atheists. That was my understanding, really. And so when I was reading the words to the songs when they were being sung, and I was thinking, wow, there's a much higher, a deeper spirituality in the culture than I realized. So it's gotten me interested even to learn more about it.
Because China, your culture is so wonderful, so beautiful, and it's based on peace and love and forgiveness and all the things. And think of where we think of China today. We think of China from the communist standpoint. We think of China from war. Atomic bombs, the whole thing.
It was just great to see the culture come out from a suppressed nation. Many of the suppressed nations throughout the world have had difficult times bringing out their culture, and it was great to see that the Chinese and your group was able to do this.
New York-based Shen Yun Performing Arts is currently touring the world with its 3 companies. Their upcoming performances include a 3-day run in Denver, Colorado between February 22nd and 24th, and weekend performances in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And that's all for this broadcast of NTD China News. For more of our China content, visit our website at ntd.tv or subscribe to our YouTube channel, NTD on China. Coming up next, we have a segment of the 9 commentaries of the Communist Party. Stay tuned.